Hey everyone, Mystical Mark here. So this will be your weekly astrology forecast for the week of March 9th to the 15th of 2025. We are on take 2 here. The first time I just started doing this and then the whole thing crashed. So I'm glad that I didn't really get very far, but I'm still slightly annoyed. So if I seem slightly annoyed, I'm sorry. Anyways, before we get into the charts for this week, okay, what am I going to say? If you're looking for any kind of a reading with me, looking to support me on Ko-Fi through membership, donation, or otherwise, or join the Discord or anything like that, all those links are, of course, in the description below and in my bio if you are on TikTok. I got the fingers right this time. See, the last time you didn't know that I screwed it up the last time because you didn't see that recording because everything crashed. But now I know what direction to point my fingers in because that looks different from when I'm looking at myself. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Also, if you the best way to the best way, the easiest and most free way. Come on, I'm not in the right space here right now. The easiest and most free way for you to support me is, of course, to like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube, hit that follow button if you're on TikTok, as it helps the algorithm to, send this video to more people. All right. And anything that you do, even if it's just a like or whatever, is always appreciated. Thank you. Or just a view, whatever, it's always appreciated. All of you being here are always appreciated. So thank you. Okay. And again, before I get into the charts, as always, I get stuff through that comes through intuitively when I do this. So anything regarding the aspect of like a future event or anything like that is always subject to change as we have free will. Okay. My guidance has always been astrology is an energetic template conducive to certain things. All right. Meaning, it's all these natural cycles of the universe, etc. So things will still happen within the energetic themes that are existing here. However, we have the ability to, say yes or no, consent is a thing, all that kind of stuff. So we have the ability to change it. Okay. Just understand that. And yeah, I think that's all I got to say here. Let's just get into this. Okay, there we go. Pulling up the chart on my end. Chart, if I can talk. Okay, let's go. We're going to start here on Sunday the 9th, except we're all not going to really start here on Sunday the 9th because there's nothing major peaking on this day. So we're going to move to Monday the 10th, and we have the same thing. There's nothing really major happening here. Although if you watched last week's video regarding what I said at the end and how is going to be kind of wild and crazy energy, then maybe this is a good thing that nothing major is happening for these 2 days because we're probably already going to be in the thick of it. And honestly, like I said in the last video, is that we are in... we're in eclipse season. We've had, Mars is still in post shadow, Venus is retrograde, Mercury is in shadow, about to go retrograde. Okay, like we've got all this stuff kind of happening when, like, I think I mentioned eclipse season. Did I? I don't know. I'm still annoyed, but I'm okay. But yes, we're in this eclipse season. I've said before that Mars is likely to be a power month, or will be a power month. Is something that came through, and not the last video, but the video before that. And I even said in the last video, I think I underestimated what I meant by actually saying that. So yeah, so there's a kind of a lot going on. It could feel wild and crazy and but we just kind of got to go with it, right? So yeah. Okay, so that's Monday. Let's move on to Tuesday the 11th here then. And I guess that's where we're starting this week, is on Tuesday the 11th, at least in terms of transits that are peaking. All right. So first things first on my list here, we're going to have the sun in semi-sextile to Chiron in Aries. Okay. So with the sun here in Pisces, Chiron, Aries, Chiron is dealing with a lot of, like I said, wounds to self, wounds to independence. Sovereignty was something that is coming through and has come through before surrounding this. Of course, the sun in Pisces, as I talked in the previous video, this is kind of like illuminating things that are hidden. One thing that I see here is the Sun moving into conjunction to Saturn while the semi-sextile is occurring. So this is likely around the dissolution of restriction of old structures, of things like that, or the awareness of the deception surrounding that, or what we're seeing from behind the scenes of how we're really being hurt through whatever these restrictions are, these control structures, these businesses, governments, corporations, all of that. It's going to be maybe like a kind of a what the fuck kind of a moment where it's like, okay, what is going on here? Right? And of course, as the Sun will conjunct Saturn, in Pisces, I always consider Saturn the dissolution of this malefic energy, right? Because Pisces is a mutable water sign. Saturn is that structure. It's like the river eroding the earth. It's flowing through and eroding it, right? So with this, it's kind of like illuminating that. But Saturn teaches through restriction. So it's like where we've been restricted is where we need to expand, but we're dissolving this restriction in Pisces. It's this dissolution of this. And it's where we've been wounded in terms of our sense of self, identity, sovereignty, freedom, etc. And these restrictions, but like I said before, with the Sun in Pisces and all the energy from like last week, we're seeing it's like we need to expand. Okay, there's an expansion of awareness where we need to see beyond just kind of what we're being shown or what we're kind of looking at, right? I had that analogy of like a movie set. Yeah, when you're watching the movie, you really can't maybe really tell that there was a set or there was cameras and lights and all this stuff there. But, excuse me, pay attention to this, I guess. But if you actually were to like zoom out and actually see not just where the camera is focusing, but see beyond that, you'd see like the director, the other actors, like I said, lights, camera, everything. You'd see the whole production environment that is occurring there. You get to really see what's going on behind the scenes. And so this could be kind of what that vibe is that we're kind of seeing maybe where we have been hurt in terms of these structures, etc., in terms of the manipulations that they have been inflicting upon us. One thing that I'm being drawn to here now again is this biquintile to Black Moon Lilith in Libra, where I talked in last week's video that Black Moon Lilith here in Libra feeling outcast in terms of injustices. That biquintile, that feminine energy, that behind the scenes, and I'm feeling behind the scenes is the word here to refer to this in terms of what's coming through, what's been hidden. What has been hidden in terms of this restriction, control, all of these things? I think we're beginning to see all of this a bit more at face value, right? It's coming up now. It's coming up now. We're beginning to see it, whether it's being thrown in our face or whatever else, or something's happening to bring it up. It's like, this is all kind of there, but we have to work to like dissolve these restrictions, this old world stuff. One thing I'm being drawn to again, as I said, with the Sun coming into Pisces, there was obviously a few videos ago where we're moving from Aquarian energy to Pisces energy, and I talked about this aspect of change. You know, that Aquarius stuff is like, let's just say change, for just to kind of have a nice rounded word to describe everything. Change. Okay, and when we move into Pisces, it's like we're still in that realm, but now it's like we're flowing with it. We're going with the flow. We're moving wherever. It's like there's no boundaries to Pisces. So it's like, but it's that malleableness, that mutableness of Pisces where it's still like dissolving. So there's still change, but it's like it's in a different way. We're now dealing with the mutable aspect of Pisces instead of the distinct fixed aspect of change, shaking things up, destabilizingness of Aquarius. However, we still have Pluto in Aquarius, right? So with this sextile to Chiron, there is an opportunity to heal here surrounding this dissolution of this Saturn type energy, of these old structures and things. However, this could also be triggering in a way as well in terms of what gets brought up here. But there, like I said, there's that dissolution of that. There's that mutable energy. We're dealing with a mutable energy with Pisces and a cardinal energy with Aries. right? So there's this endings and beginnings, this dissolving and moving in a new direction. It's like the river has decided to twist. It's going to turn now into this way and start eroding in this new path, right? So there's that part of it that is coming through here. But again, with Chiron here, this is our wounds dealing with our identity, aspects of self, sovereignty, freedom, etc. in terms of our identity, our expression, our action, all of that kind of stuff. What I'm being drawn to here now again is this Mars in Cancer. Mars is post-shadow. Now it has gone retrograde. I said this has dealt a lot with this masculine energy having to relook at itself. So there could be a wound of that there as well, in the dissolution of those old structures in terms of that masculine energy that have existed within our society. As in, we're beginning to grow and realize that, you know, those negative aspects of that masculine, how do I say this? The masculine energy isn't inherently negative. But what I mean is that there have been, let's say, a negative vibration of that energy that has been very dominant in our society. All right, and this is now the dissolution of those old restriction structures, etc., that maybe have been brought on by that, or the wounds created by that. Okay, so there's an aspect of that maybe playing through here, you know, because the Sun, Saturn here, we're still in trine to that Mars as well. So that's throwing in some energy into this too, right? And we're coming into this sextile to Uranus. Okay, so there is that aspect of destabilizing it, of changing it. Where we once saw stability isn't stable anymore, okay? Because we need to expand and change. And to be honest, a lot of that stuff never really was that stable. It wasn't really supporting us in the way that we thought that it was. I'm being drawn now again to South Node in Virgo and what I've said before. What is deemed as practical in our world isn't going to seem practical any longer, because we are now moving into the unknown. We're moving into unknown territory. But we need to trust, we need to have faith, we need to have confidence within our own power in moving forward into those spaces, right? Okay, also on this day, we're going to have Venus retrograde in semi-square here to Uranus and Taurus. So now, Uranus is one of Venus's signs. Sorry, Uranus? Did I say Uranus? Taurus is one of Venus's signs. Oh my God, what is going on? I can't even remember if I said it right for the first time. Taurus is one of Venus's signs. Uranus, who's Aquarius, is in Taurus. Okay, let me get this straight here. Take a minute to breathe. We're also going to have Mercury conjunct Venus on this day too. Okay, so I think, because I kind of was being drawn to look at that. So I think these are kind of maybe a bit tied together now. Okay, Mercury conjunct Venus. There is maybe an expansion of awareness in terms of this Venus energy, relationships. And what I said with this retrograde are independence within those relationships, right? If you've watched my previous videos, the independence within those relationships. One thing that I want to touch on now again as well, as I've said it in this video, and if there's any new people watching me when I was talking about Mars and masculine energy, what I mean is we all have both divine masculine and divine feminine energy within ourselves. And that's regardless of your physical gender, your gender identity, sexual orientation, all of that. That is all still valid, of course. Okay, but we all have both divine masculine, divine feminine energies within ourselves, and when they are in balance, they're working together in their optimal state, okay? And we want to express the positive vibrations of those, okay? Not the negative vibrations of those. We've had a lot of negative masculine in our world. We want the positive masculine, okay? Fighting for what's right, that kind of stuff. So now Venus is here in Mars's sign of Aries, okay? And we have this Mercury conjunction here, and then now this semi-square to Uranus and Taurus. So what I'm actually what's being brought to me here is there's this shift now of maybe there's this uniqueness and individuality because of this Uranian energy existing within the relationships and allowing the independence of that within a relationship. Okay, Venus in Aries, there's this aspect of, like I said, this aspect of self that exists within a relationship. So this kind of deals along the lines of when the South Node was in Libra. Come on, brain, let's go. South Node in Libra and North Node in Aries, where there was this balance, this release of codependency, and maybe focusing more on this identity of self. Okay, what I'm getting with this now is one thing I said with that with North Node in Aries, it can lead to aspects of narcissistic behavior. Now with Venus in Aries retrograde, that might be a thing that is starting to come up with Venus retrograde, the aspect of that within relationships that isn't respecting the individuality and sovereignty of the other person on like this I was going to say, I don't know if it's the correct wording, but on the side of the narcissist. So the narcissist obviously isn't allowing the other person to be their individual self. So what I mean by this is with Venus and Aries in this retrograde, understanding the unique individuality, sovereignty, freedom of each person within the relationship, setting appropriate boundaries, that kind of stuff within that, and approaching balance from that perspective. Okay? And that's also honoring being a good masculine, or if you're the one that expresses masculine, or I'm not saying everyone, okay, I understand there's non-binary and stuff like that too, okay, but if you in a relationship, let's say you're the dominant, you're the one expressing the masculine energy, this is, you want to come at this now because Mars is now direct, gone over these old spaces, the vibe is now expressing this in a new way where it's like more appropriate behavior, more coming from the heart type of behavior, understanding your emotions, and not coming at it from that old school negative masculine aspect, if you can make sense of what I'm saying here. All right, so it's respecting that individuality, that individual sovereignty within, the relationships. Pay attention to that. Whenever I burp, it's usually the guide saying to pay attention to that. So that uniqueness, individuality, that sovereignty within a relationship, or respecting that about each other and seeking balance in that way, like I have already said. All right, but with this Mercury here, that conjunction of Mercury, there's maybe a communication that comes through or an awareness of that comes through. We have to remember that Jupiter is in Mercury sign of Gemini here. We also have Mercury ruling the South Node. So with the South Node and a sign ruled by Mercury can feel like a constant Mercury retrograde. Okay, and with Jupiter in Gemini, there's this very much expansion of this Mercury energy. And Mercury is in fact in shadow before going retrograde, okay? So with this conjunction, there may be something about this that is likely to come up again through the retrograde and be focused on throughout this time. All right, but we're dealing with like this expansion of this energy. There could be an aspect of relooking at expansion of awareness and ultimately letting go of what is no longer practical in this sense. What's no longer practical is what I said, the aspect of narcissism. It never was. In fact, it's just fucking douchebag behavior, to be honest. But we're seeing that we have to respect the masculine within each other, our own independence, our own sovereignty, our own confidence, our own, if we want to consider masculine qualities within each other, within ourselves. We need to respect that and not use that as like a domineering force or in terms of like narcissism, narcissistic behavior. So we may see some of that stuff that's coming up, especially since we had that nodal axis, South Node Libra, North Node Aries, where certain assholes may have taken advantage of that energy, and now it's gonna be like, okay, it's time for a review. Especially like we're in eclipse season now, Mercury's shadow, like this is something that is obviously needing to be focused on in a lot of ways, as a reworking of this masculine energy in some way, shape, or form. All right, we've had this Mars retrograde going forward. Now Venus is kind of doing her thing, playing a role in this energy, in this sense as well, in terms of that balance between relationships. So it's like the feminine is now helping the masculine to rebalance and rework itself to come into a higher vibration in a lot of ways, so it seems. So that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So pay attention to that. Okay, and there's a lot of people that are maybe stuck in their old ways thinking, oh, well, you need to be a man and da 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 da. It's like, well, no, you can, like, there's ways to be a man if you want to consider it in that heteronormative sense. But you can do that in a more positive way. You can still express that aspect of masculinity, of like standing up and fighting for what's right and doing all of that, but do it in a positive way, from a positive perspective, and not the bullshit that we've had to deal with, and not narcissistic behavior, okay? Or like putting money over people, or like things like that, or being like a, what is that, like a psychopath or a sociopathic fucking CEO or shit like that, okay? Like, this is about understanding not only your own power, but the power of others, and not only your own masculinity, but the masculinity that exists within others, okay? And that exists within everyone, okay? It exists within everyone, at least on an energetic level, all right? So just, and I'm not trying to say anything negative towards any kind of gender identities or anything, because though that's still valid, that's still valid 100%, but those energies still exist within you in some way, okay? It's just you express them in your own unique way. All right, what else on this day? So I kind of talked about that conjunction, where, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's all for Tuesday. Let's go to Wednesday the 12th. All right, Wednesday the 12th, and that's when we're going to have this exact Sun conjunct Saturn. All right, we're also going to have on this day that exact biquintile to Black Moon Lilith as well. So I've already talked about this. All right, so Sun conjunct Saturn, dissolution of that malefic energy with that biquintile. We're feeling outcast in terms of injustices, but this is surrounding where we've been restricted, those old structures of the old world. In that way, right? And there's, like I said, there's this expansion of this awareness that is happening here. And I've also said before too that Mercury in Aries, especially during a retrograde, can be very, there's a lot of anger that could come up during this as well, fighting back. And it's anything dealing with Saturn can feel heavy, can feel tough to deal with. But I feel like we're dissolving those old things now. We're seeing things for what they are. With this Pisces energy, it's almost like you have the opportunity here to see behind the veil, if you so choose, right? Because there's people that are going to play ignorance is bliss card and just pretend that nothing is going on and da-da-da-da-da, I'm not seeing this, right? And don't be those people, okay? Take a look at what's around you. Don't take anything at face value during this time. There may be some stuff that is thrown in your face that maybe, you can take at face value because it is being uncovered in some ways. But just have an awareness of this energy, okay? And how certain people use this energy of deception to their advantage is all I'm trying to say. I'm being shown again that movie set analogy that I provided, right? There's ways that you can make things look real that aren't actually there. And, you have to zoom out to see it for what it really is. Is it manufactured? Is it fake? Or is it something that is real? Okay, that's what's kind of going on here. But there's a dissolution of maybe some structures that maybe weren't perceived as real in some way. All right, but Sun conjunct Saturn, it can be, but what I feel with this is it's a dissolution of that, like I said. It's a dissolution of that malefic energy. Consider Saturn in Pisces the dissolution of that malefic energy. We're dealing with a mutable water sign. It's like the river eroding the earth. It's like the ship in the ocean, but if the ship doesn't, dock and receive maintenance and stuff, it's going to eventually, the water is going to erode it. It's going to, if it's made of wood, it's going to rot. If it's made of metal, it might start to rust. Or, something could happen. It faces a storm, water gets in it or something and it starts to sink. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're dealing with a structure that exists within water. Like Saturn, the structure existing with the vast water sign of Pisces is going to change it. It's going to make it malleable. It's going to, like the river eroding the earth. Like I said, it's like everything I've already said. All right, and I definitely was strongly drawn, obviously, to this biquintile to Black Moon Lilith there in Libra. So there's something surrounding feeling outcasted in terms of justices. But there's a dissolution of some type of control structure that's going on here. And I'm being drawn again to the words behind the scenes. Okay, so behind the scenes, whether this is now we're seeing something for what it was, as in stuff that had happened previously behind the scenes that is now maybe come into our awareness, or this is energy of this erosion is happening behind the scenes. I feel it's more of what I said, the first thing that I said, of where we're made aware of maybe, or we're becoming more aware, even just in our own right. And maybe it's not on the news or something, but it's just in our own right of the truth of really what has been going on behind the scenes in terms of injustices and the structures of the world, etc., which is being illuminated by this Sun conjunct Saturn, ultimately dissolving that and seeing this for what it actually is. Okay, so that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting with that there. Okay, and we're heading into this full moon eclipse as this is occurring. All right, so yeah. All right, let's move on to Thursday the 13th. Now, here's the thing. This eclipse is going to be happening at 12:55 a.m. Friday, March 14th. Okay, that's Central Time. So, but for the western half of, or part of North America, or the Americas, or I guess it's just not North America, it goes all the way down. Okay, but that time zone there, this would be happening Thursday evening. So I don't see anything major occurring here specifically for Thursday in terms of major aspects, but I just wanted to mention that because for some this eclipse is happening Thursday, for the rest of the world it's happening Friday. Okay, so I'm just going to move ahead now to Friday the 14th, and we're going to have a look at this eclipse. Okay, so sorry, I haven't moved ahead on my phone. Let me get my head straight. I was really thrown off by the technical difficulty, but we're good. Okay, we're good. Okay. All right, so we're going to have the full moon here. We're also going to have, interestingly, the sun will peak in its sextile to Uranus. Okay, which means Uranus is in trine to the moon. So this is playing, Uranus is playing a huge role here in this full moon lunar eclipse energy as well. Okay, and this is also happening with the sun in conjunction to Saturn. So it's like I have already said, with this dissolution of this malefic energy, we're seeing things for what they are. Of course, this full moon, because it's a lunar eclipse, is happening on the nodal axis. South node, where the moon is in Virgo. Now, I've talked about South node Virgo. Can feel like constant Mercury retrograde because Mercury rules Virgo, but this is what we've deemed as practical isn't going to be practical anymore. So what I'm getting here is this sun is illuminating our path forward. Now, in Pisces here, we're moving into the unknown. What we don't understand to be practical, okay, are moving into the unknown. This is mutable energy. This is changeable, okay? But with this full moons are, as we know, about release. So we're releasing what is no longer practical to us, or we're seeing that, illuminating that for release, letting go, South node, so that we can begin to move forward, okay? But what I'm getting now is with this Sun conjunct Saturn, for new structures, new things. So this erosion, it's not only eroding the old, but through that is creating a new structure. Like I said, through like the river that is going through the land. One thing that just popped in my head was the Grand Canyon. So when you think about it, that was obviously created like through erosion, river flowing through. But now as time has passed, it's not filled with water. It's now this canyon. It's now this beauty of nature, so to speak, where you can go there and you can experience it for yourself, to take a look at like the wonders of the world, right? But that's what we're creating. You're creating that new structure through this erosion of the old. You can still create beauty through destruction, in a sense, as well, right? So I'm not necessarily giving permission for people to go out and just destroy and whatever, but what I'm saying is when this is done appropriately or in a certain way, that it can be that. Or if something is destroyed, to maybe it's like, well, you can still create from that point. You can still pick up the pieces, and like the beauty can still exist within that space. Like don't get so down on that. All right, but like I said, this is a release of this kind of energy, and remember, this is an eclipse. So the energy of this eclipse season is going to be carrying forward for the next 6 months. And remember that we also have Mercury in shadow actually about to go retrograde as well, overnight again. So let me just have a look here. Mercury goes retrograde Saturday, March 15th, 12:46 a.m. Central. So again, that's happening late Thursday night for some people, for the rest of the world on Friday, if I've gotten the time zones right, okay? Look, that shit can be complicated, all right? Just look at all the places that are on, like, what is that, international dateline, and zigzags like this, and one side is one day, the other side's in, it's just, all right? But this is happening, okay? Regardless of what stupid day, hour you're experiencing this in, this is going on around this time. Okay. All right, but what I was saying here was with Mercury in shadow about to go retrograde, this energy is going to be highlighted again. Okay, what comes up, so what you experience in the shadow usually comes up again during the retrograde and again through post-shadow. So we're going through like a several week phase here. If you take into account all of the shadow periods, etc., it could be 7 to 8 weeks in some cases for the themes that are occurring within this Mercury retrograde to be, brought up, reviewed, re-reviewed, looked at again, ultimately solved, and then moving forward again. Okay, so, and this is happening during this eclipse season. So very strongly pay attention to what's going on here, because it's not going away anytime soon. All right, eclipse season, 6 months, Mercury retrograde, we got weeks. All right, so just pay attention to what's going on here. The world is in chaos, and as looks like it's not going away. Okay, at least not anytime soon. All right, and especially since we've got Uranus here in sextile to this Sun conjunct Saturn, illuminating this moon here on the south node, and with Saturn in trine to here, the south node, and the moon during this full moon lunar eclipse, we're dealing with big shifts and changes. Taurus is big shifts and changes because Taurus is very stubborn. It's that stable, but you're shifting something that was stable into something else. You're learning to see the value in change. I have said that before with Uranus and Taurus. It's learning to see the value in change. All right, but there's an aspect of that change, of that instability, of that shaking things up here that exists in this full moon lunar eclipse. And this is in Earth sign. So this is very like earthly type of stuff that is being pushed to shift. Okay, and we've got Pluto here in Aquarius, the sign that Uranus rules, really pushing for that transformation, that change to occur, right? That revolution type of energy. Living your uniqueness, individuality, all of that kind of stuff. That very Aquarian vibe, humanitarian, variety, diversity, all of that very strongly coming through here. And what I feel, again, what's coming through is a releasing of those old structures, the dissolution of that, dissolving of that in those ways there. All right. Thought I was experiencing another glitch here. The computer just kind of went. So hopefully we're still good. Okay. But that's this full moon lunar eclipse, and I feel like there's an intensity and chaos likely surrounding this, okay, with this Pisces energy, the Uranian, Aquarian type energy, Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, Mars still in post-shadow, this south node, and like, it's just, yeah. Anyway, let's move on now to Saturday the 15th, where, of course, Mercury is going to go retrograde. Okay, Mercury retrograde in Aries. I've said in Aries with Mercury here, likely to deal with stuff surrounding aspects of passion, but of course I specifically touched on anger, maybe frustration, stuff like that coming up. Also what's coming through is that aspect of the masculine that I talked about, with Mars in post shadow here. So Mars is now direct, but it's still in post shadow, still going over the things surrounding that Mars retrograde, as well, because Mercury is in Mars's sign. So we're dealing with like shadow energy on top of retrograde energy on top of whatever. So there's a lot that's being re-looked at. Everything is kind of all over the place, is how I want to just express this energy, is because that's just what it feels to me. It's like Pisces. It's like anything can go in Pisces. It's just like everything's flapping around and just like whatever, but we're also dealing with this Uranian Aquarius stuff, out of nowhere craziness. Like it's it's just kind of crazy. And I don't see anything else really peaking on this day other than Mercury going retrograde, like first thing in the morning, like right after midnight, basically, in terms of where I am. For other people, it's just figure that out for yourself, okay? I don't want to touch on the time zone thing again. No. It's like trying to do calculus, okay? I failed my integral calculus class 3 times. Never passed it. I did progressively better each time, but I still never passed it. Okay? I don't want to deal with time zones. All right? And then you get daylight savings and all that, and people who don't do it and do it, and oh my, whatever. Okay? But with this Mercury retrograde, kind of, I feel like the main focus this week, really, even just looking at the transits and stuff, it's like the universe is like, okay, we're just going to focus on this eclipse and this Mercury retrograde. And that, I feel like that's kind of really the main energy that is coming through here. And it's going to be intense. I mean, dealing with eclipses, we're dealing with Uranus and making aspect to that kind of stuff. But Uranus is making positive aspects to it. But even still, it's Uranus, Aquarian type energy. It's for people that don't work well with that kind of stuff. It's, it might not feel too good. But you have to remember, this is all happening for a reason. Whatever is coming up here with, like I said, these shadow periods, retrogrades, during this eclipse season, all of this stuff is all happening for a reason. Okay, so, and well, a lot of it too is that we create our own fate. It's something that's coming through here. It's happening for a reason, but we also create our own fate. So it's also how we're going to use this energy at the same time, right? There's a co-creative force here that's happening. So maybe it's from, source or our guides or whatever else. There's a higher energy involved here with this. However, at the same time, we can also use this energy and work with that at the same time as well, whether we're allowing it to be incredibly like chaos, or how we're going to use the chaos, I guess, or what we're allowing into our lives, or if we're just going to kind of let it do its thing and then come back after, or how we're utilizing this and working with it is kind of up to us in a lot of ways too. So just kind of be mindful of that. I'm not the kind of person that's going to come in here with an astrology chart and be like, this is what's going to happen to you and this is how it must be because this is in your chart and da 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 da. And it's like, okay, hold on. First of all, you have to take this as foundational knowledge. You must, a lot of times, like reading tarot cards, etc. And when you look at your own birth chart, just because you have one planet in one sign, there isn't one exact definition for that, okay? Because you're dealing with the vibe of the sign, the vibe of the planet, but the planet is a ruler of a sign in its own self and has its own stuff. This has its own stuff. It's like, one analogy that I got, it's like visiting a different country. So when you go to a new sign, it's like you go to a new country. But then let's say you go to a different country's restaurant that is within the country that you're... Okay, hello again. So there were technical difficulties, the whole thing crashed and I had to restart. So I was basically at the end, I was just blabbing on about astrology charts and signs and whatever else. I'm not gonna dive deep into that again. I'm just gonna end the video here because I'm frustrated dealing with this crap. It's recorded, it's good. I'm just gonna tack this on to the end and be done with it. However, I do appreciate you all for watching and listening to my talking and everything for this long, and if you have made it to this point in the video, please leave a purple heart in the comments below so that I know you're a real one, that you have made it this far, and thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care.